Hi there, my name is Trinity, and today we are going to discuss some of my absolute favorite fantasy books. If you know me and you know anything about me, I am a fantasy girly through and through. However, while picking all of these books, I'm like, oh, kind of like a basic fantasy girl. Without further ado, let's start talking about some of my fantasy series. So, a lot of these are like my favorite. I've read a lot of fantasy when I was in my teenage years. So some of them are like 5-star series, some of them are like some I absolutely couldn't put down. All of them I do recommend. So, let's just start with whatever's first. Oh, looky here. It's my favorite series. Let's talk about the series I've read the most recently, which is the Caraval Trilogy by Stephanie Garber. I have become obsessed. So the series goes Caraval, Legendary, and then Finale. In Caraval, you are following Scarlet as she goes to this magical place called Caraval where they play this game once a year. She finally got an invitation. She arrives on the island with a little sailor named Julian, and she finds out that the whole game is revolving around her younger sister Tella. So she needs to find Tella and win Caraval. That's the whole plot of the first book, Caraval. However, by the time we get into these books, your world has changed. I rated this one a 4.75 and the other two a 5 out of 5. I'm obsessed. I can't even describe to you how much I love Caraval. I just read this last month, so it is so absolutely fresh in my mind. If you like adventure, if you love romance, if you like a love triangle, if you love female empowerment, you love strong women, strong characters, I think you would love this. It is an absolutely magical experience. I feel so wrapped up and swept up in this world. Anytime I think about it, it's amazing. Please go read the Caraval Trilogy. That is my #1 recommendation for this video, so please go read this. Piggybacking off of Caraval, we have Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After. These two books are also written by Stephanie Garber. They follow the events after the Caraval Trilogy, so you don't actually need to read the Caraval Trilogy to go into these books and enjoy them. However, I personally really suggest doing it. For me personally, you got so much more out of these books. You're like, oh, that's who that is, that's who that is. You really understand the main character, Jax, in these books. Once Upon a Broken Heart, we are following Evangeline Fox as she is trying to stop her stepsister's wedding as her true love, Lucian, I don't know, is about to marry her stepsister, which is a little out of pocket because she's like, I thought we were in love and now all of a sudden you're marrying my stepsister, huh? So she goes to the Church of Jax, the Prince of Hearts, to pray to him to stop this marriage. And in return, he's like, you know what? Give me 3 kisses. You have to do 3 kisses for me, and that's all. And she's like, okay, sick. And that's how we start the book. It gets so crazy by then. We follow Evangeline as she becomes like a princess. There's balls, there's princes, there's dragons. There is so much to talk about in these 2 little books. I actually just finished reading The Ballad of Never After yesterday. And let me tell you, we still have a 3rd book coming. So I'm still waiting for that, and I'm still freaking out. If you want to read this after the Caraval Trilogy, go ahead. If you want to read it without it, also go ahead. I just think these books are superb. I love them both. Same with the Caraval Trilogy. Let's move on. This next book I read quite a long time ago. It is Sea of Shadows by Kelly Armstrong. This is a trilogy. There are 2 more books in the trilogy, which I do not feel like grabbing right now, but it goes. Sea of Shadows is the first one. In this book, we are following 2 sisters who are twins in this magical land. One is a seeker, one is a keeper. I don't necessarily remember what they're seeking or keeping. There's this great evil shadow presence that's coming, so they're traveling across this big wasteland with 2 men, a thief and an imperial guard, to try and kind of stop this. They're gonna go see the emperor. They're gonna have a great time. I just remember being in love with the sisters in this book. They are twins. They both are destined for these positions. They're both crazy polar opposites of each other. One is super badass and fighting and all this, whereas the other one is very gentle and all-knowing and seeing and crazy smart. So it's got spirits, and oh my god, I don't even remember. These ones are written by Kelly Armstrong, who is a Canadian author. She writes a lot of fantasy, mostly adult fantasy. This one is categorized as a young adult fantasy, so no spice or anything like that, but we do have a heavy plot of romance, I remember. So this one is a very cool one if you want to kind of reach out of those like basic fantasy ones. I do suggest reading this. It is so crazy cool, and the covers are all like this and they're all stunning. Bam! Next, we're gonna talk about one of my favorite books that actually got me into reading. Again, we have Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. It is then followed by Crooked Kingdom. Yes, I did buy these books as soon as they come out because, and then, well, amazing, iconic. It is set in the Grishaverse, which is like Shadow and Bone. This is one of those 5-star reads where I miss the characters every day, where I wish I was reading this constantly. Honestly, in this book, we are following 6 protagonists. All of them are gathered by Kaz, who kind of was approached with this deal where they break into this super high security vault prison thing. I don't actually remember if that's it, but it gathers up this team where there's a Grisha, there's a thief, there's a sharpshooter, there's like this religious guard, like there's these characters are insane. We've got Kaz, we've got Inej, we've Jesper, Waylon, Ocean 7, but put it in a fantasy and make it 10 times better and more romantic. These are young adult books, so go Six of Crows and then Crooked Kingdom. It is just a duology, so it's just the 2 books. Genuinely, you do not need to read Shadow and Bone to pick these books up and enjoy it. The way the world is built is so phenomenal and easy to understand. Like, I came into these not knowing this world at all, and I came out of it in love. So I suggest Six of Crows. It is fun, it is action-packed, it is romantic, you're on the edge of your seat, you're like learning things along the way. It is so cool. Please go read this duology. It's also super easy, so go love it, please. Thank you. Let's talk about another super popular duology, which is the Dance of Thieves duology with Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves, written by Mary E. Pearson. I picked this up last year because I saw the cover and I saw the name and I was like, that sounds really good. I didn't even read the back. I just snatched it up and was like, that sounds good. And then upon further reading of the back, I was obsessed. I did read the Remnant trilogy that came before this book that everyone says you should probably read that before you read this. I did read that trilogy in high school. I do, however, forget every piece of information. Like, I forget everything. So I kind of went into this one blind, not knowing all that much about the world again, and I just loved it. It is enemies to lovers. He is a son destined to lead this like outlaw family town. She is a legendary street thief leading a mission to kind of go and, you know, get him. They get stuck together, enemies to lovers. It's like, actually, like, I love you, but I need to kill you. But like, I love you, but like, I actually really need to like arrest you and kill you kind of thing. It is so good. We get the best, most strongest female character, Cassie and Jace. We've got both of their point of views. It is just so cool. I love these books. The romance is top tier. The world is top tier. They are top tier. Please go read Dance of Thieves. Hopefully I explained that one okay and you like it. Please go read it. It's super popular right now, super good. So yes, Dance of Thieves, go read it. The next one I'm going to talk about is Three Dark Crowns, Kendare Blake. I don't know if that's how you say the name. One, when kingdom come, there will be one. This book is so immensely cool. It is 4 books. So we've got 3 Dark Crowns, 2 Dark Reigns, 5 Dark Fates, and 1 Dark Throne. These are books where like I was genuinely excited anytime they came out because I absolutely thought the premise was so freaking cool. This takes place on kind of like this magical island, I guess, where there are queens who rule, and there are different like sections of the world of their island. So there are 3 queens, all equal heirs to the throne, and each possessor of a covenant magic. Mirabella is a fierce elemental able to spark hungry flames or vicious storms at the snap of her fingers. Catherine is a poisoner, one who can ingest the deadliest poisons without so much of a stomachache. Air Snow, a naturalist, is said to have the ability to bloom the reddest rose and control the fiercest of lions. So there are elementals, poisoners, naturalists. I think there's like 1 or 2 more, but basically how it works is a queen, when she is like at the end of her reign, will have triplets, and then they raise them in this like little farm for a little bit, and then we're like, okay, you're a poisoner, you're that, and then they send them off and they never see each other again. They then have this kind of competition where there's a whole entire year where the 3 queens are set out to kill each other, and whoever doesn't die gets to be the queen of the land. Like, she's deemed the strongest queen. It is so amazing. And we also get like a little bit of love in there. It's It's not a lot, but it's good. It's good when we get it. However, do not expect to go into this and feel happy by the 4th book. I'm satisfied, but I am not happy. I am upset with how all of these books ended. Please go read Three Dark Crowns by Kendra Blake. It is so cool. It's a great fantasy. The world is also super easy to understand. Do you like fairy tales? Then go read Cinder. Go read the Lunar Chronicles. I'm not gonna grab the other books because there's 4 books in this series plus I think a few novellas. It is so cool. Each of them follows like a princess story and they kind of are like reimagining. So in this one, we are following Cinderella. Her name is Cinder in the book and she is kind of a cyborg, I think, is this one. And then there is Scarlet, which is Little Red Riding Hood, Cress, which is Rapunzel, and then we have Winter, which is following Snow White. All of the worlds can interconnect. There's all of these different people. This is, I would say, sci-fi fantasy. This is again a young adult book, so don't go into it thinking there's any spice. However, by the time we get to Cress, I'm obsessed. Like, Cress is one of my favorite characters ever. The romance in that book is like superb. Like, I remember reading it, crying very late at night and just obsessed with it. This series I read in one summer. I had to, like, I couldn't put them down. They're so intriguing in the way they like wrap around the fairy tales in this sci-fi fantasy world, because there are people who live on the moon, there are people who live in like little huts, there's like everything. If you are a Canadian girly and you want to keep reading Canadian girly stuff, I suggest go reading the Fallen Kingdoms series. It is definitely more of like a medieval fantasy sort of world. We are following, I think there's 4 characters. There's a princess, a rebel, a sorceress, and an heir to a throne. All of them get wrapped up in this world. There is some like enemies to lovers in this book. It is so good. You get to like book 3 and you're like, oh my god, when are they gonna be in love? This is I believe it's 6 books in this series. If you just want some fantasy, some magic, some enemies to lovers, some lovers, I think you'd like these books. It is so cool. And if you're Canadian, please go check out Morgan Rhodes. She has another little spin-off series to this one, which I think I only read the first 2 and then I went to college and forgot about them, but these ones are so great. Anyway, Fallen Kingdoms is very good. This whole series is crazy. I think we all saw this moment coming, and yes, I don't have the first 2 books because someone took them, but Percy Jackson. These are middle grade reads. There are 5 books in the original Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, and then we follow them again in another series, another 5-book series. So I would say there's like around 10 books in this actual series to read, but I do suggest reading Percy Jackson at least once in your lifetime. The show is coming out so soon. If you do not know what Percy Jackson is about, we are following Percy Jackson, who when we start the novel is 12 years old. He is the son of a god, a Greek god. So we've got Greek mythology. Slay a little. We start the book off with him getting attacked, something happening to his mother. He has to go to this camp. We get Annabeth, we get his friend Grover. We just get the OG 3 is what it's called. To put it in simple terms, Percy Jackson, Greek gods, Greek mythology, middle grade fantasy. And there's a little bit of love. So I just suggest forever and always reading Percy Jackson. It's so good. Miss Cassandra Clare in the Shadowhunters universe. I am currently only holding up the Infernal Devices because I have an entire shelf dedicated to Cassandra Clare and her books. So I would suggest starting with the Infernal Devices if you don't want to get into the Mortal Instruments, which is like 5. It's 6 books. That one's 6 books long and all the books are interconnected. It is a huge world. It is so much to get into. But if you don't want to get into the whole whack of things, I would just start with the Infernal Devices. It is a really good trilogy. We've got a love triangle, and it's not like a typical love triangle. It is so amazing. In the first book, we are following Tessa as she is going to London, England to live with her brother. When Tessa Gray crosses the ocean to find her brother in Victorian England, something terrifying is waiting for her in London's downworld. Kidnapped by a mysterious dark sister who are members of a secret organization called the Pandemonium Club, Tessa soon learns that she has the power to transform into another person. The Magister, the shadowy figure who runs the club, will stop at nothing to claim Tessa's power for his own. Tessa takes refuge with the Shadowhunters, warriors dedicated to ridding the world of demons. She soon finds herself fascinated by and torn between 2 best friends, James and Will. That's Will Herondale. In case I haven't mentioned it, Will Herondale is my book boyfriend, my number one top tier. I do really actually want to reread these books: Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess. Prepare to have your heartstrings tugged. It's a great trilogy. Please go read it. Alrighty, of course, this couldn't be a fantasy recommendation video if we did not talk about one special little lady, Sarah J. Maas, the queen of fantasy. We are going to start with A Court of Thorns and Roses. Yes, this is the old cover. Yes, I know that. They are also hardbacks. I do want to purchase the other ones. I say that every video, I swear to God. Okay, anyway, in this book, we are following Feyre. This is kind of like a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Just the first one is we get Feyre, who is going out into the woods one day to feed her family, hunt for them, all that sort of stuff, and she ends up killing this wolf. Turns out that wolf was a fairy, and it's a huge no-no. So Tamlin from the fairy world comes out and he's like, hey, you've got to live with me in this castle because you did this horrible thing. And things take wind from there. There is genuinely so much that happens in this book. That description is just not at all where the other books land. I have them all up here. Sarah J. Maas gets her own shelf because she's queen. That is the ACOTAR series, which I'm sure everybody's heard about. Please go read them. It's obsessive. It's great. I really actually want to reread these books this year because I read them so darn long ago, like I think in 2017. I really want to reread these. Okay, anyway. Then, of course, we can't talk about Sarah J. Maas without the OG Throne of Glass. In this book, we are following Aileen, is how I said her name, who is a deadly assassin who, in order to earn her freedom, she needs to compete in this competition with, I think it's 23 others. Yeah, with 23 killers, thieves, and warriors in a competition. If she ends up winning the competition, her freedom is that she gets to work for the king. How sweet of him. How sweet. Anyway, Aileen is like just the most badass character ever. This is where this series starts. There are 8 books in the series, and believe me, I've actually have not finished the series. There is one more book in this series that I have not read, which is a great excuse for me to reread them and buy the new covers. This whole part of the video is me convincing myself that I should just go and buy the new covers for all the Sarah J. Maas books. Throne of Glass is amazing. And then Sarah J. Maas's newest kind of series is Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood, and House of Sky and Breath. These are crazy. They are, I would say, the most vivid fantasy world you would ever get into. I would, however, suggest reading those other 2 series before you read this one because I love Sarah J. Maas. I can't say anything. I can't say a thing. These are good. We are following Bryce and Hunt. Bryce is just like a young girl who's half fae in this big town of Lutherian where like all these mythical fantasy creatures all live in kind of one spot, and they are run by angels. So her best friend is like the leader of this den of wolves. She comes home one day and they have been brutally murdered. And like her best friend is like her entire life. So after that we got Hunt Althalar, who is a fallen angel himself, and he is on the case to kind of solve this murder. So he's asking her for her help. What does she know? What does she remember? And then shit goes down from there. These books are ginormous. These are like 800-page books minimum, but the world is so good. It is a time commitment, but I would definitely go and commit your time to these books because they're amazing. Anyway, the whole suggestion here is go read The Queen of Fantasy, Sarah J. Maas. Alrighty, those are all the fantasy books / series I suggest you go and read. We had some very, very well-known ones like ACOTAR. We've got some ones that I don't think anybody's heard of, like Fallen Kingdoms or Sea of Shadows. We've got mainstream fantasy. We've got not-so-known fantasy. Amazing worlds. If you want to escape, please go read all the books I suggested. If you have read some of these books and some of these series, please let me know your thoughts down below. I am always a girly who wants to chat about the books I've read, especially the fantasy ones, because there's so much to discuss, so much to get into. Let me know your thoughts on any of them. If you haven't read any of these and you're very intrigued by them and I didn't explain it well enough, which I probably haven't, please let me know. Give me your opinions, give me your thoughts. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Come join my little corner on the internet. It is quite fun here. We have a good time. We work hard. We hustle. We read. We love. So please make sure to give lots of love, give a lot of kisses, and just have a great day. Enjoy reading. Bye, guys.